Hi there. Welcome to Next Level Yoga. I'm Tara Kestner. Once again, we're out on the front porch on a beautiful summer day. Today's class is going to be my tribute to Yin Yoga. Yin Yoga is a variation of yoga that concentrates more on the connective tissue, the tendons, the fascia, the ligaments to a lesser degree. There's a lot of great resources about it online. I would highly recommend a book by a woman called Sarah Powers called Insight Yoga if you're really interested in Yin and finding out more about it. I'm just going to touch on it. This class will have a Yin section that'll be about 20 minutes long, and then a Yang section, which is the moving, the counterpart of Yin, which will be flowing and moving, nothing too terribly difficult. And then we'll finish with another about 20 minutes of Yin, which will approach the larger joints like the hips a little deeper. They'll be warm then. It'll be a better time to stretch that kind of stuff out. So this class is going to start out on your back. So go ahead and get comfortable. Stretch out there. And once you've made yourself comfortable, let one hand rest on your belly and one on your either low ribs or your chest, whichever you feel more comfortable with. And close your eyes and start to notice your breath. Notice the movement in your hands as you breathe. It's probably not much. So we're going to try a little breathing exercise to utilize more capacity in the lungs. So as you begin to inhale, apply just a little bit of pressure with the hand that's on your chest, forcing the air kind of down into the belly. Feel that hand rise up on the belly. Pause, and then as you exhale, release the hand on the chest and apply a little bit of pressure to the belly, blowing it out. And then just repeat that pattern, inhaling, pressing on the chest, and exhale, pressing on the belly, creating a little bit of space between the breaths. And just continue doing this for about 30 more seconds. And we'll take one more breath here. Fill it up. And let it go. And help that air out with the hand on the belly. And then allow your breath to come back to a more natural pattern. We'll move into our first Yin pose. So we're going to start to slide the feet over to the right. And keeping them on the ground, keeping the legs long. We'll lift up the left leg and cross at the ankles. And anchor down through the hips and just notice what happens along that left hip. Start to feel just a very gentle stretch. And that's getting more into the fascia of the muscle than necessarily any one muscle. Now start to move the shoulders over to the right a bit. And you'll notice that that stretch continued up gently through your oblique muscle and along your ribs. And we're going to really intensify that. Reach your arms up overhead and you'll feel it come up along the ribs. Rock your head out of the way. Close your eyes and breathe into that left side. And take one more breath here. And this pose is called banana pose, which I think is kind of a stupid name for a pose, but it does give you a very good visualization as to the shape you intend to take. So go ahead and bring your hands on down and move your head and shoulders back to the center of the mat, and then take your feet all the way over to the left side so we can set this up on the other side. So lift up your right leg, cross at the ankles, and take a second to notice how that develops in your hips, and then start to move your shoulders and head over to the left. And when you're ready, Reach the arms up and overhead. Grab either that wrist or that elbow. Rock your head out of the way. Close your eyes. And start to breathe into that right side. And take one more breath here. And as you finish this breath, bring the hands on down onto the belly. Move the head and shoulders to the center. Walk the feet up. Bringing the knees up into the chest. Go ahead and take your hands to the back of your thighs. Lift your feet up. Lift your head up. And begin to gently rock up and down on the spine. Maybe just a little. Maybe a lot. Use your feet for a little momentum and eventually rock your way all the way up to the top, to seated. Then we'll come over the knees and come on to our bellies and lower on down. And we're coming into Sphinx pose. So it's a stretch for the upper body. It's what's called a supported and leveraged back bend. You're going to grab opposite elbows and rest your forehead down on your forearms. Rock your hips out a little bit just to release the low back. Take your feet just a little wider than you normally would. Untuck your toes. So we're going to begin to come into this pose by lifting the face and starting to walk the elbows back. Now, this is going to create some compression in your low spine. So if you know you have low back issues, you're going to take it very easy. You're going to check in with each position. And if you start to notice any distress in your low back, you're going to back off. Continue to walk the elbows back underneath you. And maybe getting them all the way back and under the shoulders. If you get to here and you have no problems, then go ahead and take the hands out, palms facing down. Sphinx pose, classic Sphinx pose. You're going to lift and lower the chin, find something that's neutral for your neck. In whichever position you're in, just start to take some nice slow breaths. In Yin Yoga, you deal with 3 elements. You deal with finding your edge, which is that place right before it becomes really uncomfortable. Becoming still. Nothing's moving but your breath. And then just the passage of time. We hold these poses longer. We allow the body to soften into them rather than pushing to stretch something. So we've been here for a little over 30 seconds now. And if you're feeling okay, great. If you want to do more, you're going to follow me into the next pose. If you're feeling any distress in the low back, you're going to back off to one of those previous setup poses. Now if you want to move on to seal pose, you're going to take the feet a little wider. And you're going to start to slide the hands out and away from you and begin to lift the elbows up off the ground. So you'll notice the intensity and the compression in the low back, but also a more intense stretch along the front of the torso. So more into the rectus abdominis and the pectoralis muscles. If you'd like a little more, you begin to walk the hands back. Your arms are like tent poles, holding the front of the body up to any position that works for you, and just begin to soften into it. Use a nice easy breath. Become very still. And just let the time pass. We'll be here for about another 10 to 15 seconds. So one more slow breath. Start to work our way out of this. So wherever you are, bring yourself back down to the mat. Begin to slide the hands under your chest and press yourself on up to all fours. Begin to walk the knees forward. Take them as wide as you can, all the way out to the outer edges of the mat, and then start to gently sink your tailbone towards your heels. So we're countering out that compression and allowing that space in the lumbar region to separate. And come on down onto your forearms and find a way to become comfortable with your neck. That may mean stacking up some fists and resting the head there. You might be okay with resting your head all the way down on the mat. Whatever is comfortable for you. And start to find your back ribs with your breath. So as you inhale, you'll feel those ribs expand. And as you exhale, they'll close down a bit. It's all internal. There's no big movements here. Just take 2 more breaths like that. Opening up those back ribs on the inhale and letting them close back down on the exhale. 1 more time. And we're going to move in to our next yin pose, which is a twisted child's pose. So come on up onto your hands. Reach your left hand under your right arm and lower down onto that left shoulder. Now make a fist with your right hand and rest it under the temple on the left side. Now you'll notice your shoulders just kind of suspended between your body and the floor, and that might feel really good. This might be a good place to stop and just stay right here. But if you'd like something a little more, you're going to let the head come down onto the mat. You're going to bring that right hand onto the right thigh. So create a little stability for the spine by stabilizing the shoulder. Then you can gently push into the leg and create a little more rotation. And we'll stay for about 10 more seconds or so. And then slowly begin to let this go. Come on up onto all fours. Reach that right hand through. Lower down onto that right shoulder. Make that fist first. And suspend that shoulder between the body and the ground. Just notice how that feels. If that's good, stay here. If you want more, rest your head down. Bring that left hand onto the left thigh and gently press into that rotation. And close the eyes and just become still. One more slow breath here. And when you're ready, start to let that go. Come on up to all fours. Walking the knees under the hips. Wagging out the tail a bit. We'll head into a cat-cow. So the hands are right under the shoulders. Fingers are spread wide. Start to drop the belly down and lift the tailbone. Then start to lift the chin up off the chest and take a breath in. And as you exhale, begin to tuck the tail, round the back, push the mat away, and just let your head drop down there. On the inhale, come back to that cow pose. Dropping the belly, lifting the face. And as you exhale, round it into cat. Blow it out. Inhaling cow. And exhaling in to cat. And we're just going to hold this cat stretch for about 3 breaths. You might want to let your tailbone sink towards your heels a little, just a few inches. And stay there. And then come to a nice neutral spine. Begin to extend your right leg out long behind you. And bend at your knee. And start to lift your face and draw in a breath. We're starting to find that right hip flexor. As you exhale, drop your nose down, swing your knee in, and push the floor away. So we're crunching it down. And then on the inhale, kick it back up. Look up. Exhale, crunch it in. One more of these. Inhale. kick. Exhale, crunch. And bring the knee down to the mat. Extend the left leg out long. Bend at the knee and lift your face. Draw in a big breath here. And as you exhale, swing the knee in, drop the nose down. Inhale, kick. Exhale, crunch. One more time. Inhale, kick it up, look up. Exhale, crunch it in. Take that knee to the ground. We're going to start to make our way up to standing. So tuck the toes under. Lift the knees a couple of inches off the ground and then bring your chin right into your chest. Let your hips make their way up towards the ceiling and start to gently march the feet in place or pedal out the heels. We're not going to stay here long, but we're starting to transition into the yan section, the moving portion. So start to walk the feet up behind the wrists. Take the feet a little wider than the hips and let your belly rest down on or between your thighs and drop your head. It's as if you're sitting at a desk, you're hiding underneath it by folding yourself in half in your chair. Begin to gently sway from side to side, gently massaging those low back muscles with movement. And the arms are really long right now. Fingertips are still on the mat. We're going to start to move the fingertips from side to side. And then start to take the fingertips out off the mat and around the outer edges of the feet. And each time you do, you engage the QL muscle. That's the side of the low back, just a little more. And find a nice, gentle sway that works for you. Check in, notice if you lifted your head. There's often this tendency to lift the head and engaging the neck muscles. Instead, tuck the chin into the chest and let the back of the neck be really long. Now the next time that you get to one side or the other, it doesn't make any difference which side. You're going to pause, you're going to lift up just a little, and then swing the arms back across. And then bring them back, and when you get to that side again, lift up a little more. And we're just going to keep repeating this pattern of lifting up. And as you get a little more vertical, you're going to start looking behind you each time you get to the sides. Letting the arms just dangle. That's what they call this pose. They call it dangle pose. It's just my variation of it. And then bring it all the way around. And as you become more and more vertical, you look more and more behind you. You let the arms swing out. And then eventually, you just become still. Step towards the top of your mat, and we're going to start to move now. So with a big inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. Bend your knees, turn your palms out, and swan dive down over your legs. Inhale it up. Exhale it down. One more of these, inhale it up. Exhale it down. Stay here, moving into halfway lift on the inhale. Bring the hands up the fronts of the shins until you can straighten your legs, and that may be up here on the thighs, on the knees, on the shins. And lift your face a bit and flatten your back. Bend your knees, blow the air out as you fold yourself back in half. Drop your head. Let's do that 2 more times with the breath. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Stay right here. Steady yourself with your fingertips and step your left foot as far back as you can. Begin to shift forward and back, starting to loosen and limber those hips. It's okay if they're up in the air. Just keep working at it. Ground down through that left hand and start to look to the right. And when you're ready, sweep that right arm out to the side, maybe even up if it'll go there. The first one's always the hardest, revolved lunge. And bring it on down. Step the right foot back to join its partner back there in plank. And with a big inhale, bring your shoulders as far forward as you can. And then slowly bend your elbow and lower yourself to the ground. Untuck your toes. And take a big breath in as you Peel the chest up off the ground, cobra pose. Blow it out as you lower back down. And push yourself away from the ground, walk your knees up under you. Tuck your toes, back to downward facing dog. Lift the hips on up, drop your head, and start to lift your left foot up behind you a little bit. Wherever you can go, it doesn't have to be high. Then we'll bring the knee into the chest, step the foot down, and once again shifting back and forth in that lunge. Begin to ground down through the right hand this time. Start to look to the left. And when you're ready, sweep that left arm out and maybe up. Revolve lunge. Bring it back down to the ground. Little bounce in the back foot always helps. Step it to the top. Let's try that as a flow. One breath, one movement. Inhale, sweep the arms wide. Come up to standing. Exhale, swan dive down over the legs. Halfway lift is next. Inhale up. Exhale down. The right foot this time. Step it way back into a lunge. Shift around. Plant the right hand. Look to the left. And with an inhale, sweep that left hand up. Exhale it down. Plank is next. Stepping back into plank. Find your breath again. Inhale, bring the shoulders out over the fingers, and then bend the elbows lower down. Blow it out. Inhale, cobra. Exhale it down. Push yourself up off the ground. Tuck your toes and come back to downward facing dog. Lift the right foot up behind you. Bend the knee, swing it into your chest, step it onto the mat. Shift around a little bit, find your lunge. Plant your left hand, look to the right. With a big inhale, revolve that lunge. Exhale it down. Little bounce in the back foot helps. Step to the top. One more time through. Inhale up, standing. Exhale, swan dive. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Left foot back. Lunge. Plant the left hand. Look to the right. Inhale, revolve your lunge. Exhale, bring it down. Step the right foot back to plank. With the inhale, bring the shoulders forward. On the exhale, lower down slow. Right into cobra with your breath. Inhale up. Exhale down. Push yourself up off the ground. Find your way to downward facing dog. And with an inhale, lift that left leg up behind you. As you exhale, step the foot onto the mat. Look to the left. On the inhale, revolve your lunge. On the exhale, bring it back down. Step that back foot to the top. Inhale up to standing. Here we go. Up. Exhale, swan dive down. Starting a new sequence now. Walk the feet back to downward facing dog. Shake out your head, pedal out your heels. Begin to lift your left leg up into three-legged dog. Height doesn't matter, just take it to a place that feels comfortable. And then swing the knee into your chest. Step the foot onto the mat and look at your back foot. Move it over to the right a bit. Turn your toes out and flatten your foot on the ground. Warrior one, feet. Now we're going to rise up to standing. Take the arms wide and with a big inhale, bring it up. Warrior one. Looking up, reaching up out of the waistband of the pants. Draw in a breath here. As you exhale, start to bend your elbows and bring them down and back, lifting the center of the chest into a back bend. And then inhale, reach it back up. Press the palms together here and begin to hinge forward at your waist. Look to the left and start to bring that right elbow down towards the front knee, staying as long in your spine as you can. Inhale slowly. Back up to standing. Turn the palms out. Sweep the arms down around behind you and hook your fingers together behind your back. With an inhale, start to lift your chin up. Look up, open up through the fronts of the shoulders. And then let it go. Release your hands. Bring them to your hips. We're going to turn to the right. So as you turn to the right, you're going to step your feet wide, line your toes up, Prasarita. First one, take a breath in. And then as you exhale, start to slide the hands down the outsides of the legs, paying attention to what your hamstrings are telling you. Maybe stopping here at the halfway point, the hands resting somewhere near the knees, or continuing on down, dropping the head, bringing the hands to the outside of the ankles or the feet, and pause. Now nice and slow, let's rise back up. Take your time. Be mindful of your back. Don't rush. No jerky movements. Bring it on up. When you get to the top, look at your left toes. Pick them up. Wheel them around. Lay it back down on the mat, rolling into the outer edge of the foot, and bring your knee right out over top of your ankle. Extend the arms out nice and long. Warrior two. Let's bend that front arm to 90 degrees. Bring the forearm to rest on the front leg and then reach up to the ceiling and maybe over your head. Side angle. Let's take it back to warrior two. Those nice level arms. Reach it out. Lift your face, look up, and let your hands float up there. Press your palms together. Get that length up the ribs. And then drop that right hand down onto your back leg. Reverse warrior. Keep reaching through those left fingertips. And then back to warrior two, level arms. Let's go ahead and straighten out the front leg. Pick up the toes. Turn them back towards the long edge of the mat. Turn all toes out and begin to reach the arms up so you look like a giant X, 5-point star. Look up, take a breath in. As you exhale, start to bend the knees, start to bring the elbows down, sinking into those hip joints, horse squat, hold, and then bring the hands to rest on the thighs. Start to straighten out the legs. We're going to hinge forward at the waist. Eventually fingertips to the ground when you get there. And drop your head. Now look at your right toes. They should be turned out. If they're not, make sure they are. Then begin to bend that right knee, side squat. Start to walk your hands over towards your right foot. The stretches up the inside of the straight leg, the left leg. And pause. Now let's continue walking the hands to the back of the mat. Go ahead and pivot around on your feet. So you're in a lunge facing the back edge of the mat. Hands are framing that front foot. Let's drag that front foot back and kick it up behind you, three-legged dog. We'll do that whole thing again, this time on the other side. Swing the knee into the chest, step the foot down. Look at your back foot. Turn the toes out and spin the foot flat. When you're ready, with an inhale, rise up. Warrior one. Looking up, reaching up, and then with a slow exhale, start to bring the elbows down and back for that back bend. With an easy inhale, reach the arms up overhead, look up there. Press the palms together and then begin to hinge forward at the waist. Start to bring that left elbow down towards the knee, look to the right. And then slowly back up to standing with hands together. As you exhale, turn the palms out and let the hands come down behind you. Hook your fingers together here and start to lift the chin, drawing the shoulder blades together. Start to reach the knuckles for the back heel. And then we'll let it go. Hands to the hips, turn to your left this time. Step the feet wide, line up the toes. Prasarita, second one. So start to hinge forward at the waist, slowly running the hands down the outside of the legs, stopping when your hamstrings and back tell you to. Maybe continuing on and dropping your head. And then we'll bring it back up to standing. When you get there, look at your right toes, pick them up, wheel them towards the back edge of the mat, and then lay them down as you roll into the outer edge of your foot. Start bringing that knee out over top of your ankle and then extend the arms out long, warrior two. From warrior two, bring the front arm to a 90-degree bend. Let that forearm come to rest. And then first reach up to get that lift. Get that rib away from the hip and then reach over only if it feels good to you. Side angle. And then back to warrior two, those level arms. Lift your face, look up. Bring the hands up overhead, press the palms together. Hold it right here, take a breath in. And as you exhale, drop that left hand onto your back leg. Keep reaching through the right fingertips. And then back to warrior two. We'll straighten out that front leg. Pick up the toes, 5-point star. So all toes turn out. We reach the arms up. We look up. We take a breath in. And as you exhale, you sit down into that horse squat. Hands to the thighs, straighten out the legs. And then follow that momentum, hinging forward at the waist. Fingertips to the ground. Make sure your toes are all turned out. We want the knee and the toe going in the same direction. Look at your left toes and start to bend that knee. Shifting the hips that way, then walking the hands over there. Pause. And then continue on around. So you're back to the front of your mat. Let's try that as a flow. So with an inhale, drag that foot back, kick it up, three-legged dog. As you exhale, bring the knee in, step the foot down, spin the back foot flat. On the inhale, rise up, warrior one, look up there. Back bend is next. When you exhale, bring those elbows down and back. Inhale, reach it up and press your palms. As you exhale, hinge forward, right elbow towards the front knee. It doesn't have to get there. Inhale, back up. Keep those palms glued together. Turn the palms out, and with the exhale, bring the hands down. Hook them together behind your back. And then inhale, lift the chin up off the chest. Open up the shoulders. Exhale, let it go. Turn to the right. Set the feet up wide. Prasarita. Now you can slide the hands or you can interlace them behind your back, whichever feels better to you. Starting to hinge forward slow. Stopping halfway or continuing on, dropping the head. And let's make our way back up nice and slow. When you get to the top, look at your left toes, pick them up, wheel them to the front of the mat, bend that knee, and with an inhale, warrior two. Bend the elbow, come to side angle on the exhale, reach up or over. And then inhale back to warrior two. We'll stay here for the exhale, blow it out, sink in. Inhale, let your arms float up there, press the palms together. And with the exhale, drop that right hand down, reverse warrior. Keep reaching through the fingertips. And then inhale back to warrior two. As you exhale, straighten out the leg, pivot on the feet, and with an inhale, 5-point star. Look up. As you exhale, sink down into that horse squat, and then hands to the thighs, straighten out the legs. Blow it out as you hinge forward, reaching for the ground. Take a breath in here. Look at your right toes, and as you exhale, bend that right knee, side squat. Walk the hands around. Pivot on your feet one more time through. Inhale, three-legged dog. Drag the foot back, kick it up. Exhale, knee to the chest, foot on the ground. Spin the back foot flat. Inhale, rise up. Warrior one, look up and then blow it out into that exhale, into that back bend. Inhale, reach it up, press the palms. Hinge forward, exhale, left elbow to front knee. Inhale, back up to standing. Turn the palms out, blow it out. Bring the hands behind you, hook them together there. Take a big breath in our last one of these. Look up. And as you exhale, let it go. Turn to the left, set the feet up wide. Prasarita. Interlace the hands or run them down the back of the legs. Take a breath in. As you exhale, hinge forward, drop the head. Inhale up slow. Look at the right toes. Pick them up, turn them towards the long edge of the mat, bend the knee. With an inhale, warrior two. As you exhale, side angle. Inhale back to warrior two. Stay for the exhale. Blow it out here. Sink in. Look up. Inhale. Palms to touch up overhead. Exhale, reverse warrior. Drop that left hand down. Keep reaching through the fingertips. And then with a slow, easy inhale back to warrior one. Warrior two, I'm sorry. Straighten out that front leg. Wheel the foot around. With a big inhale, set yourself up for 5-point star. As you exhale, sink it down for the last time. How low can you go? Hands to the thighs, straighten out the legs. Follow your momentum forward, hinging forward. Fingertips to the ground. Take a breath in. Look at your left toes and start to find that side squat as you blow it out. Continue to walk the hands around. Drag that foot back. Kick it free. Three-legged dog. And lower it down. Start to walk the feet up to the top of the mat. Moving into our last moving segment. When you get there, it's a halfway lift. Inhale up. Exhale down. Begin to sit the hips back. Let your belly rest on your thighs. Start to lift your face. We're coming into a very aggressive chair pose. Start to reach the hands out from the chest. And draw in a breath here. As you exhale, drop your right hand down. Look back behind you. Reach back. See if you can get your hands to level. Pause. Inhale, bring the hand back up. Exhale, left side, same thing. Drop it down, reach back. And then back with the inhale. Exhale, fingertips to the ground, right in front of the toes. Drop your head, and then a halfway lift. Let's try that as a flow. Inhale up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale into chair. Exhale, right hand down and back. Inhale it up. Exhale, left hand down and back. Inhale it up. Exhale, hands to the ground, drop your head. Inhale, halfway lift. One more time. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, chair. Exhale, right hand down and back. Bring it back up. Exhale, left, down and back. Inhale it back up. Fingertips to the ground as you exhale, drop your head. Inhale to a halfway lift and pause. Tick-tock your feet out to the outer edges of the mat. Put a soft bend into your knee and just let yourself melt down, folding in half into wide-legged ragdoll. Just start to sway gently from side to side. Reach up and grab opposite elbows. Use your arms like a pendulum swinging side to side. Just try to coax those back muscles into relaxing. And sway it out here a couple more times. We've moved through that Yan section. We're moving back into the closing Yin section. And begin to work on those hip joints now that they're nice and warm. So become still in the center and drop your hands down. Walk your feet back so that you're able to lower down onto your knees. And we're going to move into what they call in Yin dragon pose. We call it lunge in regular old yoga. And this would be a great place if you have a towel that you want to pad up your knee, because we're going to stay for a while. Sometimes it's nice to have a little something between your kneecap and the floor, other than just the mat. So we'll start on the left side. We'll step the left foot on through. And we're going to shift forward and back a few times. Get the joints to a place where they're happy. Then we'll crawl up that leg. Now, we're focusing on this hip flexor right here. So know that the more you come forward, the more extended it's going to be. So you can pull back a little and shorten that up. And you can move forward to lengthen it out. You can also push the shoulders back a bit. That intensifies everything. You're going to find that edge and you're going to stay for 30 seconds. And one more breath here. And we're going to slowly start to stand up on that back knee. So who's happy for some padding now, right? And we'll start to straighten out that front leg. Start to peel the toes up off the ground. And then you can begin to hinge forward, stretching out that hamstring a little bit. Now you can bring the fingertips to the ground or just one hand to the ground for some stability. The more you flex your foot, the more involved the calf gets. So you decide how much you want there. And then we'll slowly let that go. Take the hands forward, bring the knee back on to the mat, or hopefully onto a blanket. We'll step the right foot through, shifting forward and back a bit until you find just the right placement for you. And begin to crawl the hands up, pulling back, noticing how that tendon feels when it's short, and leaning in. Notice how it feels when it's long. Find the happy spot right in between. Relax your shoulders down. We're here for 30 more seconds. One more breath. And as you exhale, pull the hips back so you're standing on that knee. Begin to straighten out that front leg. Flex the foot a little or a lot, depending on how much you want to do there. Then begin to hinge forward. Notice how that feels on the back of that straight leg. And just pause here to kind of counter out that hip flexor stretch. One more breath. And start to bend the knee and bring it down. We're going to move into the yin version of pigeon pose, which is sleeping swan. What you can do if you have a blanket here is to roll it so it's at its thickest part, so about that thick there. And put it on the right side of your mat. It's not necessary to have that, so if you don't have it, don't sweat it. Come to all fours. We're going to slide the left knee up. So it's touching the wrist and then let it come down. And instead of kicking the heel in and getting that external rotation, we're just going to kind of leave that heel where it is and start to lower yourself on down. So as you lower down, you're going to settle in here. And you're going to take that blanket, which I should have had on the left side, and we're going to put it under the left hip a bit so that you can lean into it. It's not going to support you completely, but it creates just that little bit, just kind of like having a pillow behind your back when you're sleeping. Then begin to lower yourself on down. Grab opposite elbows and rest the forehead down on the forearms. And we're going to stay here for about a minute. So you're going to want to get wiggled in and pretty comfortable. And just close your eyes and go back to your breath. You've got about 30 more seconds. And take one more breath here. Nice and slow. See what happens if you do a nice thorough exhale. And start to make your way up onto your hands. And find your way back to all fours. And when you get there, gently kick that left leg behind you a few times. Let the blood flush back into the ankle and the knee joint. And we'll take that to the other side. So we'll bring the right knee forward. And then start to lower yourself down to the mat, moving that left foot back. And lowering down onto your forearms. Hello, Gigi. Grab opposite elbows. Rest your forehead on down. If you'd like to use the blanket, thanks for reminding me, Gigi. You'll take that and you'll put it under your right hip. And then come on down. Find your version of sleeping swan. And we'll stay here for about a minute. And just one more breath here. And begin to make your way up to all fours. Kick that right leg behind you a few times, just a couple gentle donkey kicks. Straight out behind you. And then we'll move out of the hip joints and into the shoulders. So we're going to come to all fours. And lower down onto the forearms. You're going to take your right hand and grab the inside of your left elbow and rest your forehead down on that bridging forearm there. And look at your knees. Now start to walk your knees back. So you're lowering your chest a little closer to the mat. Notice how that feels. If you feel like you could do a little more here, walk your elbows forward. Bring your forehead all the way onto the mat. And imagine that I've come up and I've placed a 5-pound sugar bag right on your shoulder blades. It's pressing your chest down. And find your breath. And take 2 more breaths here. And go ahead and lift your head up. Walk your knees back up. Walk your elbows back if you took them forward. And we'll do that on the other side. The pose is called quarter dog. So it's a variation on a puppy pose and a downward facing dog. Go ahead and grab the inside of the right elbow with the left hand. Rest your forehead. Walk your knees back. Imagine that pressure on the upper back, pressing your chest closer and closer to the mat. And if you feel like you can do more, walk your elbows forward. Drop your forehead down. And stay right here. And start to lift your face up. Walk your knees forward. Knees are somewhat close to each other. There's about 2 fist distance between your knees. And then press yourself on up. We're going to sit back on the heels. We're going to Start to bring ourselves down, folding ourselves in half. Lowering down to the ground. We're going to counter out that pose. So tuck your chin in a lot and rest your forehead on the mat. And then bring your hands back by your feet. Your thumbs are just grazing the outer edges of your feet. Your palms are up. Your arms are very heavy as they lay by your side. And close your eyes. I'd like you to just take a moment to realize that this is the complete opposite of what we were doing, where those shoulder blades were so compressed together. Now that space between the shoulder blades, the rhomboid area, is wide open to the ceiling. So I'd like you to try to find that space with your breath. So as you draw the breath in, you'll feel that space open up a little more. And as you exhale, it'll gently close down. And just play with that. Nothing too intense, but just gently massaging out that area using the expansion and contraction of your breath. And we'll take one last breath here. And then just really lazily make your way up to seated. We'll come on up and drop over to one hip and come around on to your back, where we will spend the rest of our time together. And when you come onto your back, just start to rock out your knees a bit, massage out the spine, rock the head a few times, and then start to work the soles of the feet together. And let the knees drop open. Hands can rest on the belly. Lift your butt up and retuck your tail, coming into reclined butterfly. Now as you come here, if you notice compression at the outer edge or a little pinching sensation where your leg bone comes into your hip, that just has to do with the shape of your hip joint. I have that issue, so I've created some solutions. Solution number one is to make a couple of soft fists. Lift your butt up and place your fists right there under your backside where the hip and the leg come together, so that those femur bones have something to rest on other than your hip joint. And you can also place blocks under here, but that would require us to have blocks, and we don't have them right now, so not a great solution. If the pressure on your hands does not feel good, then we have a third option, which would be to lift your feet up off the mat, still keeping the soles of the feet together. Grab the fronts of your shins and just gently nudge the knees open with the elbows. So it's a reclined cobbler's pose instead of a reclined butterfly. In whatever position you've chosen, just close your eyes, become still. We'll just allow the time to pass. And one more breath here. And then we'll begin to lift the knees up, bringing them together. And if your feet are down on the mat, go ahead and lift them up. Reach around behind your legs, lift your feet up, and grab a hold either of your fingers or your wrists, or interlace the fingers together, and then let the feet come down to rest. And start to draw the knees in closer and closer to the ribs and the belly. So you're creating a little tuck of the tail by pulling your knees in, creating space in between those lumbar vertebrae. We'll just hold on to this for another breath. And we're going to create that same sensation in the cervical spine, those 7 vertebrae at the top, at the neck area. So start to bring your chin down, keeping your head on the mat. Bring your chin down towards your chest, as if you're intentionally trying to create a double chin. You've got that full extension going in the cervical spine and the lumbar region, and we're just going to stay this way for probably about 5 more breaths. One last breath here. And then we'll go ahead and let go of the legs, lift the chin up, let everything go back to its first position. We're going to start to drop the knees over to the right. So dropping them down to the right, rolling all the way onto your side till your knees can stack on top of one another, and rest your right hand on those top knees, still bringing the knees up and in, so you're still creating that little tuck of the tailbone. Now, start to rock your head so you're looking up at the sky or the ceiling, and bring your attention to your left shoulder. Now it's going to become very, very heavy as you start to look behind you. So rocking your head back, and that shoulder is going to get heavy until eventually the hand will just fall away onto the ground. Doesn't matter where it lands. Just let it fall away. Adjust your head so your neck is comfortable. The weight of the arm is creating that stretch and tension in the front of the pec there, and the attachment point at the front of the shoulder. And just be still. One more breath here. And we'll start to deconstruct this pose. So let's bring the left hand back up to rest on the side. And go ahead and rock your head up. Let go of your knee and let your knee float on up into the air. And then the other knee will follow as you come onto your back. And we'll drop the knees over to the other side. So dropping knees to the left all the way over, and rolling onto the side until you can stack your knees up and bring them up a little closer to you. Rest your left hand on the top just to anchor the knees, and then begin to look up at the ceiling. And focus on the feeling in the right shoulder. As you begin to look behind you, and that shoulder becomes heavier and heavier until eventually the hand just falls away onto the ground. And then readjust your gaze to a place where it feels good on the neck and close your eyes. And just breathe. Everything's still except your breath. We've got one more breath here. And then we'll begin to pack that back up. Bring the hand back up onto the side. Look up to the ceiling. Let go of your knee and let your knee float up in the air. And its partner will follow, and you'll adjust yourself back onto the center of the mat, crossing the ankles lightly, hugging the knees in and rocking it out one last time. And then find your way into final relaxation. Extend the legs out long. Let the feet flop open. Lift the hips up and readjust the tail, and then gently slap out the legs until the joints fall into their happy place. And then take a second to lift the chest up and readjust your shoulder blades underneath you. And flop your hands out to the sides with the palms facing up so that you can feel the floor under your forearms. And close your eyes. In Yin Yoga, they call this corpse pose, which I find a wee tad morbid, but it definitely makes the point. As you sink into the floor, just become very still. Let your breath become soft. Let your eyes gently close. And just be still. And begin to deepen your breath, taking in enough air that you feel your belly rise up. And then exhale through your mouth very softly, like you're blowing out a candle. Start to wiggle your toes a little. And then walk your feet back up onto the mat. And gently drop your knees from side to side. And start to wiggle your fingers. And really lazily reach your right arm up over your head and let it rest on the ground up there. And the next time that your knees drop to the right, allow yourself to be rolled onto your side by that momentum. And find your way onto your side and rest there, stacking the knees, resting the head on the arm, and closing the eyes. We'll stay here for about 3 slow breaths. And one last breath here. And begin to press yourself on up and find your way to a seated position, something comfortable. Give the shoulders a little wiggle and bobble out the head. Let's interlace the hands together and reach the arms out long, lower the chin down onto the chest and take a big breath in. And as you exhale, let the hands go, let them come around behind you. Turn the palms out and with a big wake up inhale, sweep the arms up overhead, reach up, look up. And with a big exhale, bring the thumbs down the center line. Thank you so much for joining me today out here on the porch for a little Yin Yang yoga. Namaste.